Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of NOL Nostradamus. Dicko, how are you, buddy? We're doing a big preview tonight.
Diz, I'm great. And before we start, just want to shout out big happy birthday, brother. 34, you just told me. Hope you had a good day.
Mate, big day, even better night. Can't wait to get stuck into it. 34 years young, feel 21. So that's all that matters.
All downhill from now, mate.
All downhill from here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will be previewing the Sharks, the Dolphins, and the Dogs this week. Really interested to hear what your thoughts are, Dicko, on these three teams. I think we're going to have a few varied opinions throughout the evening, a little bit like we did last week. So for those who haven't seen last week's episode, we did the Broncos and the Raiders. So check that one out. Before we get into it, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsor, Grip Socks. Step into excellence with every stride from the heart of Australia to your feet. Use the code NOSTRA20 at checkout and let your feet do the talking. That is GRIPZSOCKS. Now, Dicko, the Cronulla Sharks. Where do we start with them? Obviously finished top four last year, made a prelim once again, and once again choked. Look, I'm going to get straight into their weaknesses, mate. It's the pressure. The pressure of finals footy has haunted them for years. They've had a great squad on paper. Will they take it to the next level this year? Who knows? What's your thoughts around the Sharks, and where do you think their strengths and weaknesses lie for this upcoming season?
A bit like you said, really, their weakness is being able to turn regular season results into postseason results, right?
Yep.
So their postseason form has been ordinary. It looked like a different side, realistically, after the season finishes, the regular season, right? When they get in the finals, they just seem to not play like they had previously.
Mm.
So, and I think that stems from, I just don't know whether there's any, what's the right word? Any organisation in the halves in terms of finals. So they've got a great team that's suited to, as I said, regular season footy. But when as you said, the pressure steps up and it becomes a real grind and a real dogfight in finals, they don't.
Mm.
I don't feel like they have the squad for that.
Yeah.
And then their organisation around their 7, 6, 9, and 1 in those games when it's a dogfight, and when you've got to come up with a really trick play or bounce of the ball or jumping on a loose ball, they just haven't been able to get it done. So the only way they're going to improve in the postseason or in the finals is if they can get that right.
Yeah, look, mate, I totally agree with you. The Sharks, they were handed a pretty soft draw last year as well.
Yeah,
We all
very
know that.
soft, very
We
soft.
we alluded to that many times. Now, the NRL hasn't been so kind to them this coming season. They travel 7,000 kilometers more than the average, which is only 25,000. So they got about 25% more travel than the average of most teams this year. Now, they've also been stitched up in turnaround time. So the average 5-day turnarounds for the NRL, as we spoke about on the last episode, was 1. They have 3. So they could be potentially in a spot of bother. They also have to play the Storm twice, the Dogs twice, and Manly twice. Notably, actually, the Cowboys and the Roosters. Whether or not they will live up to the form of last year is another story.
So that's 5 last year top 8 sides they've got to play
Yeah.
twice.
And very interesting their draw in terms of game days. So if you look at their away schedule, they have 1 game on Thursday for the whole year, 0 on Friday, 5
Yeah.
Saturday, 6 Sunday.
I
Yeah.
can't imagine you get a lot of people down at Shark Park on a Friday night.
Yeah, well, there's a few rumors going around with their stadium and training facility, and the government owns that, or the NRL owns that as well. So I don't really know what's going on there, but we'll let them sort that out.
Yeah.
Look, it's not all doom and gloom for the Sharks, right? They've got a potent attack. When they're humming, they are humming. They've got heaps of weapons, heaps of meter eaters. and none other than a new signing for them this season, Adam Fanua-Blake.
Yeah, good pickup.
He could be the difference between the Sharks finishing top 4 bowing out and the Sharks genuinely winning a premiership. Do you think that he will make that difference to the squad?
So do I think whether he'll make a difference? Yes. Do I think that he will make enough of a difference to take him potentially to a premiership? No. Again, the problem is not that. The problem is not players that make meters.
Yeah.
And although he's one of the best in the game at it, the problem they have is, as we alluded to just before, is the pressure and the organisation around the 6, 7, the 1, and the 9 in pressure games.
Yeah.
And until they get that right, it's not gonna. You can have Adam Fanua-Blake and Payne Haas in your front row. Wouldn't matter.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that. I mean, the spine's so important to winning a premiership. You know, we've seen Penrith spine over the years. We've seen the Storm spine, which is arguably on paper probably the strongest in the comp by far. If you look at the Cronulla Sharks spine, you've got Brayley, who has somehow won their Player of the Year, and I wouldn't say it's necessarily set the world on fire. And Will Kennedy at the back, who is, in my opinion, under enormous pressure and may not even start in fullback for this coming season. You've also then got Tricky, Braden Trindle, who had basically what was a breakout year last year for him, signed a new long-term deal, and he's actually overtaken, and from all reports, Nicho Hynes is actually going to shift to 6. Trindle's going to become the key playmaker and goal kicker. And talk about a fall from grace for poor Nicho, and we harp on about it all the time. But there's a lot of pressure.
But that, I think, is a good move.
Yeah,
that's a good move. So that's a positive move. That's if that comes to fruition and that's where they start and he plays, I think that's a good move. I think that's a positive move and definitely a move for the best.
Yeah, whether or not it makes a difference is a massive question mark. Who is their key players to watch from your perspective?
Well, I mean, the key player is obvious, right? Because literally their whole season revolves around whether he plays well. Because he plays well during the regular season, and the last few seasons he hasn't played well, right? So the easiest one for me to sit here and say is Nicho Hynes, but I actually think it's going to revolve around how Will Kennedy plays it in the 1. If they can get a good, consistent Will Kennedy in the 1 jersey, then they will be right up there with the best of them. Right?
Yep.
But
are they going to get that? Let's throw you on the spot. Are they going to get that with Will Kennedy?
Well, I think he's got potential to give you that, but whether he can give you that for 27 or 25 rounds, I'm not sure. But he's definitely got potential to give it because we've seen glimpses of it, right? There's been games where he's been outstanding. There's also games when he's been very poor. So I feel like they've got some. I feel like if anything, they've got some combinations they can throw around if the going gets a little bit tough. I'd like to see Daniel Atkinson get more game time. I feel like he's one to watch. I feel like he might take his game to the next level, provided he gets some good game time and some big game. I feel like Blake Brayley needs to evolve his game. He's become very one-dimensional, I think, just looking at him. I said that to you a couple of times when we were watching their games. All he does is stand, pass, and tackle. Like you got to provide something else in the 9, right? So they're my 3. I mean, you know what you're going to get if you look at their squad and their best 17. You know what you're going to get from the rest of them.
Yeah, that's right. And let me ask you this: what way do you think Craig Fitzgibbon's going to go, and what way would you go if you're the coach? Do you start Will Kennedy at fullback like last season, keep Hynes at 6, Trindle at 7, Brayley at 9, obviously, or do you give Atkinson a run at 6, throw Nicho back to fullback, and play Trindle at 7, which has been thrown about, or do you bring in Liam Ison, who's been touted as the player to take over from Will Kennedy?
The problem is with Atkinson, he's leaving. So there's an issue there. So it's unlikely, I would think, that he's going to play in the starting halves unless there's injuries, right?
Yep.
If it was me, and I said this from the moment Nico Hines signed with Cronulla, I didn't think he was a 7. I
Yep.
always thought he was a fullback or a 5'8".
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was a fullback first, 5'8" second. All right. So if it was me, Trindle would be the 7, Atkinson the 6, and Nico Hines would be the 1.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think I've said that to you many times. I can't understand how Nico Hines isn't the 1.
Mm.
But he's won a Dally M at halfback, so who am I?
Yeah, well, it's certainly going to be an interesting season for the Sharks, and I feel like the writing's on the wall this season. And like I said, their weakness has been pressure in the past, and if they can cope with that pressure, all will be, fine. And they probably will go on to win that elusive premiership that they probably should have got over the last couple of years if they could handle that pressure.
Oh, I definitely think they're in the mix. They'll give themselves a chance, but it's just whether.
Yeah,
As
and look, we know
alluded
how
to.
hard it is to win a premiership. Where do you think they're going to finish? Do you think they're going to still finish top 4 or
No, I don't have
no?
them in the top 4.
Oof,
Now this is again.
saucy.
This is week 2 into our season preview of that comment. So let me when I get through all the teams, I might say a few other things that have the Sharks in the top 4. So
Yep,
this is just from week 2. I don't at the moment, but let me think about it.
true. Look, I'm going to say top 4, and if they don't finish top 4, anything less than that's a fail. That's
You
as far as I'm going to go.
you are harsh, aren't you?
Yeah, they have the exact look. They lost Jack Williams and Royce
Yep.
Hunt. Undoubtedly a little bit of depth's gone there.
Mm.
But they had a couple of players who were injured throughout the season that are going to be fit again. Hemlin Ueli, who only recently signed a bit of a longer term deal with them. And obviously Adam Finnell-Blake comes in, which is a huge signing, arguably
Big signing, massive
one
signing.
of the best front rowers in the comp.
Yeah.
So let's see what transpires next. Now, Dicko, before we move into the Dolphins preview, just want to give a shout out to Create. Get around them, guys. They get around us. Merch we're wearing, they looked after us in that regard. They make great quality material. Everything is second to none with them. If you need anything from corporate for your sporting club, whether it be your own business, give them a shout out, mention our name, and they'll look after you. Now, Dicko, the Dolphins.
Yes, the Dolphins.
This is going to be an interesting preview. I am very, very concerned for the Finns. Very, 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 very concerned. Let's run through their gains and losses. I think that's really important. Junior Tupou from the West Tigers, the winger. They've got Fini Fuiaki from the Cowboys, sorry. Daniel Saifidi from the Knights, and Max Feagai from the Dragons. Now, they've lost Jesse Bromwich to retirement. They've lost Tavita Pangai Jr. to England. Ewan Akins followed his dad, Wayne Bennett, to Souths. Lockie Hubner from South as well has gone to South too. Edric Lee's retired, and Tessie New's gone over to the English Super League. Not massive losses, I would say, but they haven't really made any massive gains either.
No.
For a team that has so much spare cash.
Well, what are they saving money for?
Well, are they saving money, or are they trying to wait for the right player, or have they literally just, I don't know, are some of the players like turned off going there, or because they've got coin, and they should have signed a marquee by now.
I'm sure we've alluded to this on a previous episode of one of our podcasts, right? But they've missed out on Kalen Ponga. They missed out on Cam Munster. They missed out on Brandon Smith. They missed out on Ben Hunt.
Yep.
And on every occasion, they threw over $1 million at them. All of them.
Yeah. I wonder what it is.
I don't know what is going on with their recruiting.
I mean, look, credit where credit's due. I'm assuming most of those players have rejected those deals to try and win a premiership, maybe. Or maybe not Kalen Ponga, but they've just really struggled with recruitment, and we'll talk about where they're going to finish. But
it leads into the next thing we're going to talk about is their weakness, right? Their weakness is they've got zero depth.
Mm,
They've got zero depth. I'm looking at their list now of 29 players because they've got one extra spot on the squad, and
mm.
their 18 to 29 is. I mean, they're all good footy players. You've got to be good football players to get on a list in the NRL. But if they're
Yeah.
calling on these guys for a long parts of the season, they're in a bit of strife. I would have thought.
Yeah. Look, the draw's been kind to them. The draw has been kind to them, although they do have 3 5-day turnarounds as well.
Yep.
But there was a lot of talk around them not traveling much last season. They are sitting around the average this year.
Mm-hmm.
But let's run through the teams they played twice. The Titans, the Cowboys, the Knights, the Broncos, Roosters, Warriors, Raiders, and Rabbitohs. Like, that's pretty good. They only have to play Storm once, Penrith once, Sharks once. So you would arguably say that they're sort of the three favourites going into this season. And yeah, look, they play every other team, that I just read out twice. So yeah, I don't know. Look, the opportunity's there for them. Although they just missed the 8 last year. Like, I don't know about
Yeah,
you,
I know,
Dicko.
but I feel like there's probably at least 5 games last season that the master coaching of Wayne Bennett potentially got them the result. So, and they don't have that now. Christian Wolf's good coach, all reports, been assistant to Wayne for many years at different clubs. I think he was even at the Broncos there for a while, head coach in the Super League. So, he's no mug, but is he going to be able to get those results that potentially you're not expected to, that Wayne somehow gets, which is why I feel like when we get to the South preview, we might find South sneak a few more wins than what people think because of the Bennett factor, right?
Well, apart from the lack of experience and star quality that they don't have, my weakness I wrote down was the Wayne Bennett syndrome. I don't know if you want to call it that, but it seems like every time he leaves the club that he's at, they just go belly up.
It's a shambles, yeah.
Yeah, and I can honestly see that happening for the Dolphins, which is really devastating for the NRL if it does happen. There's a lot of obviously time and energy and money that's gone into Tom Flegler. Is he going to be fit for this season at some point? Who knows? Maybe not. Their obvious strength is none other than Herbie Farnworth. He's just elite. I would say he is right now the best centre in the world. What do you think?
I thought you were going to go the other way then.
No.
No, I don't. I don't think so. No, I think Stephen Crichton for me still
ahead.
Still ahead. Just better
Still
defender.
ahead, just.
Better defender.
Can you see any sort of breakout players or players with a larger influence this season outside of Herbie?
Yeah. So Tom Gilbert, I'm really looking forward to Tom Gilbert coming back into the team.
Yeah.
He's
captain rumors too.
Yeah, and this bloke is honestly my favourite players because he's just to get in there and you know what, boys, just follow me and I'll show you the way. If I got to belt down a few brick walls, I'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Can't wait till it's Origin time and hopefully he's fit because I really feel like he makes a difference to the Queensland team. So for me as a Queensland supporter, absolutely can't wait for him. But yeah, I really feel like, and I'm not going. We shouldn't expect too much of him early on. Again, coming back from the knee reco, but as the season gets on and he gets into his groove, watch out because that bloke is all heart and he'll single handedly win a few games for the Dolphins. Absolutely.
I wonder if Daniel Saifiti's really going to step up this year because he was obviously playing Origin only a couple of years ago, and he sort of form went away, and his brother has sort of overtaken him, Jacob, at the Knights. Can you see him sort of stepping up?
Well, he's going to have to because there's going to be no Tom Flegler for a period of time, right? And they don't.
And Jesse's gone.
So they don't have a front row leader.
No Pangai Jr.
Yeah, you would assume that Felice Kafusi will play front row because he played front row in parts last year.
Gilbert plays second row or you'll play lock?
No, I think
I know you'll
Gilbert.
have Maxi Plath at lock.
Yeah, I think Gilbert will play second row with Finny Fuiaki will be the back rowers personally.
Yep. Yep. They
But
do
yeah,
look, they've got some really
mm.
they've got your Gilberts, you've got your Max Plaths. Like you can really build a team around those guys that
Yeah, and
give
watch
effort.
this space on Max Plath because I reckon I honestly I've got him in my 17 for Queensland at Origin.
Smoky for the Maroons.
I don't even know whether he's a smoky anymore, mate, because he's
Mm,
just someone that Billy would love that type of footballer. Um,
yeah.
we shouldn't sleep on Hamaso playing center with Herbie
Yep.
and Trey Fuller playing fullback. Now I know Trey Fuller's got
Yeah.
an ACL, so I know he's going to be out for probably a long period, if not most of the season. But when he is fit and if he comes back, I wouldn't sleep on the fact that he potentially comes back in because I actually think I thought, and I thought Hammer was brilliant before Origin. Then I thought he dropped off after Origin a little bit.
Yep.
And when Fuller came and played fullback, I really felt they looked dangerous, more dangerous than as opposed to Hamaso playing at the back.
Well, I heard that the plan was to have him at fullback.
Yeah, nice. And that I really feel like that balances the team better because then you could play Jake Avarillo as a bench 14 because he can
Mm.
cover multiple positions, and then you don't have to play a halfback in the 14, which will probably be Sean O'Sullivan or someone like that.
Well, let's cut to the chase. Where are they going to finish, Dicko? Where are they going to finish?
They'll be mid-table. They'll be fighting for the 10 to sort of 13, I think. I don't
10 to
think.
13?
Yeah, I can't see him beating the top. Definitely can't see him beating the top sides.
Yep.
They'll have some surprise wins though, but when they're on the road, I don't know whether they've got enough strike and experience and especially around Origin time, like when Hammer goes out, and Tom Gilbert potentially goes out, Max Plath maybe, what's going to happen there around Origin?
Yeah.
You know what
Look,
I mean?
well, that's right.
So yeah, I have them somewhere sort of 9, 10 down to about 14. I don't have them. I think they're a better team than the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, around that.
Yep.
You have them as a spoon, don't you?
I don't have them as a spoon,
I
but
can see the look on your face.
my goodness, they will be fighting out for the spoon. I am so confident that they will be in the bottom 4. That it's not funny. I feel really bad for them. They do not have any depth at all. And if Hammer makes Origin, which he probably will,
He will. He'll 100% if he's fit.
Herbie Farmworth obviously is a Brit, so that doesn't matter for him. And if Maxi Plath goes, look, if they get a couple of injuries, like they're Gornskis.
Yeah.
Like they're a shot duck there. But look, I hope for the Dolphins fans, stay positive. I hope they don't finish in the bottom 4. I cannot see them finishing in the top 8. If they finish in the top 8, Christian Wolf will probably get Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom. They're not going to be a rubbish team. They're gonna be in most games. I feel like they've got the
Yeah.
culture and the experienced guys that'll keep them in most games. But just whether they can get,
How do you
over the
think their
line.
halves are going to line up?
I think Nicarima will play 6 and Qatar at 7. I didn't like.
Sullivan?
Yeah, tried and tested, good player, but just not an elite 7. Katoa, I didn't like how he was sort of mixed around at the end of the season.
Yeah.
I really feel like they should have stuck with him. I mean, the kid's only, what, 20, 21?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, give him a chance. And so, yeah, I think those two will play 6 and 7. But again, one of them gets injured or both of them get injured. Where are we pulling a halfback and a 5'8"?
Yeah, exactly right, mate. Exactly right. Well, let's move on to the Dogs. Now,
Doggies.
I don't know how many people have taken a deep dive into the Dogs, but they have the softest draw that I have ever seen in the history of mankind. If they do not make the top 4, it is a fail. Wait till you hear this, Dicko.
Mm-hmm.
0 5-day turnarounds. 0.
Yeah, right. Yeah, okay.
9 6-day and 14 7+ day.
What do they play Sunday? What do they play Sunday afternoon every week?
Wait for it. Distance traveled 25%, not 25% less, 25% of the average. So they travel approximately 8,000 kilometers, and the average is nearly 26.
You're kidding me.
8,000 kilometers. Now,
that's one trip to New Zealand.
Wait till you hear some of the teams they play twice.
Oh, here we go.
Rabbitohs, Dragons, Titans, Eels. Panthers are in there, but no Storm. Roosters, who are low on troops. The other two teams, Broncos and Sharks. Now, they have the softest draw in the comp. Now, they don't have Leo Thompson for 26 for this year, but for 26. So we need to count him out. They have signed Tom Amone, who, from all reports, is training the house down, was absolutely elite in the English Super League last year. He's come across from the Lee Leopards. I think he was averaging nearly 20 hit-ups a game, over 135 metres, which is great going. Something that they've really lacked, that middle forward to stamp the platform early. Satili Tupanua, who was really quite strong at the back end of the year for the Roosters, he's come across to add a little bit of depth and may even pinch a starting spot in that back row. Marcelo Montoya's come across from the Warriors, and more reports, he looks like the favourite to take the wing spot that Addo Kara's left, seeing as though his contract got terminated. Yeah. And the other little bit of depth in the back line is Anari Tuala, who's no slouch, works hard. And their losses are Joash Papali'i, who has barely played, Jordan Samrani, who I don't even think has played a game, Josh Addo-Carr, which we all know about, and Kidione Katoga was released. And the only other loss they had was Gerald Skelton. So their squad is, if it's probably better than it was last year. They've got that finals experience. They've got that sort of ex-Panthers culture as well.
Yep.
How do you think they're going to go? Is like their strength? Like, do they have any weaknesses?
So it's funny because you just said their squad's better, and I definitely agree with you. I don't know whether their team's any better than last year. Yeah, and I must admit, I felt like they overachieved a little bit last year. Like I'm halfway through the season, I was very surprised at where they were.
Yep.
All right. So yeah, so their squad definitely improved. So that will keep them in good stead if they've suffered some injuries. On the list that I'm looking at, they've got Drew Hutchison down as player number 28. You know, so he's played, 50 NRL games or 30 NRL games.
Yeah.
So, that's a pretty good squad, right? But their team, I don't know whether the team has improved. I don't know whether, but they were in it against,
Yeah, look, you're probably right. The team on paper hasn't really improved. But Preston's coming back.
And Kurt Mann will play. He missed the finals, if I remember correctly. He was injured, wasn't he? Or in the last final at least?
I think he might have broke his hand.
Yeah. So I thought he was a big loss. I thought he's found his position after watching him play about 8 different positions at different clubs. I feel like he's found a position there at 13. Josh Curran, revelation.
Yeah. He looks like he's trimmed down a little bit too, so he might even slot into that 13 spot nicely.
Yeah, nice. But yeah, I feel like if they can get the Toby Sexton that they got last season, you can lock them in for the 4.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? Burton and Sexton. If they're humming,
I think Burton, you're gonna see. I mean, Matt Burton's a good player, so you're gonna get a consistent season out of him. But I feel like, and again, I literally feel like I'm just naming every halfback and for every team we preview. But if you don't get the Toby Sexton that you got last season, well, then I don't know whether the Dogs. Well, they definitely don't challenge for a premiership.
Yes.
But if you get the Toby Sexton from last season, which we all think they'll probably get, I think they'll definitely be in the top 4 for sure.
Yeah. Well, what I was most impressed about last year was defensively. Like, they were top with about 4 games to go in the season.
And you're not going to lose that. Like, if anything, their defense is probably going to get better. So, again, another season, another off season, another preseason in working on the defensive structure. So that's probably even going to be better. Less distraction. They had a bit of distraction with Addo-Carr last season off the field. So less distraction. I mean, and then coupled with the soft draw, as you alluded to.
Mate, they travel interstate 5 times across the whole year. That's embarrassing. 8,000 kilometers compared to the average of 25.
So
Seriously.
maybe you're onto something. Maybe they're. I mean, they're not a smoky. I wouldn't say they're a smoky, are they? To
Is Gus still working for the NRL on Channel 9?
I think he's contracted there, mate. But yeah, I mean, you wouldn't say they're a smoky for the top four. I feel like with the soft draw, with the recruiting, with the increase in depth, and what we think we're going to get out of those players that we sort of mentioned, I feel like they're going to they'll be the top four and be pushing probably for a top two. To be honest with you.
Wow. Wow. Here we go.
Oh, I feel
Sharkies to drop out.
well. Here's the first
Yep.
first Dicko bomb for the season, right?
Yep.
One of Melbourne or Penrith won't finish in the top two.
Okay. So not Penrith Storm top two.
One of them. So one of them won't go 1 and 2.
Yep. Could be both.
Could be. Oh, I don't think so. I think part of me's saying that more hopeful than anything. To be honest with you.
Yeah, look, I think the rest of the competition thinks so as well. Look, honestly, they'll finish in the top 8, the Dogs.
Yeah,
They will finish in the top 8 easy.
Easy.
I think they should finish in the top 4. And I think, honestly, if they're previewing this upcoming season, you look at their draw, you look at their squad like we just spoke about, you look at that cultural shift that's happened in the last sort of 12 to 24 months, anything less than that is a fail.
Yep.
Yep. So
they definitely
Doggies
should be pushing
fans,
for a comp for sure.
Doggies fans, I'm living right next to Belmore now, so it is absolutely humming. I see Bulldogs jerseys everywhere, every single day. They've wiped the cobwebs off them, and look, they're out in force, and there's a lot to get excited about for the Dogs. Dicko, that wraps it up, mate, for this week. Well done, son.
Mate, how good is this? How good is previewing every team?
I just can't wait for the season to start.
We're getting close now. You know, teams are really starting. The team's going to Vegas.
46 days. 46 days, mate.
Yeah, they're getting
not long.
Trial games. I see some trial games have been sort of confirmed in terms of time slots and venues and stuff.
Yeah, so, they're only a few weeks away.
Here in Queensland, the Broncos are back on the news every single day. So, you know, it's beautiful.
That's what we want to hear. Now,
all good things.
Next week, we'll be doing the Titans, the Sea Eagles, and the Storm. So make sure you tune in for that one.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, that is going to be a juicy one. I think I've got a few firecrackers on that one that I've previewed. Tino's back. But yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. Hope you all have a great week, and we'll catch you all next week.
Thanks, guys. Happy birthday, Diz.
Cheers, mate.